Hey there guys, and welcome back to UnJaded Jade. Welcome to a highly requested video. So if you don't already know, my name's Jade. I am doing my A-levels right now. I'm year 13 doing maths, biology and chemistry, and despite the fact that I do not have a PhD in the art of making flashcards, I have definitely learnt a few things across the years about kind of the do's and don'ts of the flashcard world. So I really do hope that you find this video useful in some way. I'm gonna be honest with you, this video is going to be jam-packed full of stuff. I've got my list. So yeah, please do give this a like if you like it, and feel free to subscribe for more revision videos. Right, so first main point to make is that flashcards should never just be rewritten class notes. And it might sound obvious, but quite frankly, it is probably the biggest mistake that literally everyone makes. You see so many people who just rewrite their dense class notes, exactly copy it onto a flashcard, and they seem to think that putting it onto that magic little card is going to suddenly make the information so much easier to digest, and it's just going to put it straight into your head, and that is not true. The most successful flashcards are the ones that make you actively think and actively engage with what's on the flashcard so that you remember it more. And when you're just rewriting your notes and just rereading your notes, that's quite passive. And you might as well just kind of be reading the textbook, especially if you're writing in full sentences, just a block of text, you know, small writing on a flashcard, how much can you fit on there? Flashcards are such a useful method of revision if you use them right. And I also just wanted to say that I think the act of making flashcards is not revision. Generally, you need to make them first to use them to revise in the future. Often just sitting there and making your flashcards can be quite passive as well. You're sort of just putting the information onto that card, so it's best to make flashcards as early as you can. So for example, at A-level, every single science lesson I come home and I straight away make a flashcard from that lesson, just so that in future it doesn't all build up and I can use the flashcards to revise from. So that's just a general note. Big tip is summarize information onto flashcards. And when I say summarize, I mean summarize. So for me personally, per chapter I have a pack of flashcards. So for example, this is my pack of flashcards for photosynthesis in biology, and it can be quite useful to make one flashcard near the start which is just a summary of the whole chapter, so key points. If it's science, you can often get key points from mark schemes, things that come up all the time. But basically, if you didn't have much time and you had to revise a chapter and you needed all the key points, just quickly look at that flashcard and all that info is on there. But when I say summarize flashcards, I really want to draw your attention to flashcard speak. This is something that I've really developed at A-level and really learned how to use effectively. And it's basically where you replace a lot of commonly used words with a symbol or a very quick image which means that thing. Your aim is to have as little text as possible on that flashcard and to have lots of empty space and to get your point across of what you need to learn in very few words, and to just make it more inviting to look at and more engaging. And often if you replace words with a little symbol, you actively have to think about it because you kind of have to, your brain has to almost decipher it a little bit more. So a very commonly used one in maths is 3 dots in a triangle, which means therefore, and then the same triangle upside down means because. I literally live off of that in biology and chemistry flashcards. Some other very useful things are increases. I would do a little arrow up. Decreases, I would do an arrow down. Like, oh, increase in biodiversity, I would just put an arrow and then biodiversity. Say it's biology, water potential has a little symbol itself. So for example, if I wanted to say, therefore water potential increases, I could do the 3 dots meaning therefore, I could do the symbol for water potential, and then I could do an arrow for increases. And I guess I've sort of become fluent in the own little symbols that I've used. Another thing which is quite similar is anything that you can turn into a quick picture, do it. So for example, in photosynthesis, a leaf is a very quick, easy thing to draw. So I've just got adaptations of the leaf what does that say? To take in CO2. Just makes it more inviting to look at. That is very clearly a leaf, so it's just adaptations of the leaf and the CO2 instead of writing out carbon dioxide. Like, I know that CO2 is carbon dioxide. Easy, just makes it easier to look at, and you're not just passively reading text. It also means you have to engage with the lesson content more to make these flashcards, because you have to be thinking about the words that you're writing onto the flashcards to like turn them into symbols or images. Similarly, abbreviate really common things. So for example, when I say different, I always put diff with a little dot. In biology, they have some fancy long names of things. So on the first flashcard in the pack, I might write out like restriction endonuclease, and from then on in every flashcard I'll refer to it as RE, and then in my head I have to almost replace, whenever I see RE, I have to replace it in my head with restriction endonuclease, which means you're sort of actively working as well when you're looking at it. The next thing that brings me on to is questions, and you might be more familiar with flashcards being used for this, but personally the way I like to make my flashcards is kind of do very quick summaries of information. So as I was saying before, something like this, adaptations of the leaf, just 3 very quick things with kind of like a quick diagram to represent them. And then within that pack of flashcards, I have quick questions with the answers on the back, just to kind of test my understanding. I might take questions that I got wrong from past papers, quick knowledge-based questions, and write the answer on the back. Because then when you're going through, you're engaging with it more, you're having to think, and especially if you're doing it for things you got wrong, you're reinforcing those answers in your head. You're not going to get it wrong again. Again, for example, if it's quotes for English, you could miss out words. So you could write out a full quote, you could miss out different words, and then on the back you can like fill them in. That'll get you thinking about it more instead of just reading the quote. You can also use prompts. So on the first side of a flashcard, I could write something like, a quote from random character, Lenny from Of Mice and Men, to do with the theme of this, and then on the other side of the flashcard I would have like a quote to represent that theme on that character, and then you can test yourself. So like, a quote from Lenny, and then you'd recite the quote and then look on the other side, see if you got it right, word for word, that kind of thing. And the last thing I want to say, which I think is so important, is make it visual. Use colour, use highlighters, but then also don't spend all your time just being like, oh yeah, look at me revising, like look at me using my aesthetic highlighters. Like that's not worth doing, but at the same time, make it visual. Don't just have a block of text on a flashcard. It's just not inviting, you know? Like space it out, use little diagrams, use little images, underline it. If you're into calligraphy, I mean, go for it. They always look amazing on studygrams and stuff. And then a personal tip within visual flashcards is I like to use diagram prompts. So say you've got something to learn, like a list of things. I like to explain it on a flashcard summarized, and then at the end I have like a question to do with it, like, basically Jade, like list all the adaptations of this, and then I have a small picture to represent each thing as a visual prompt. Allow me to explain. So here I have some questions on one side of a flashcard. It says, what are the adaptations of a leaf for capturing light? On the other side you can see all my prompts for all of these questions. For the top one, what are the adaptations of a leaf for capturing light? I have all these little diagrams which I just came up with. So that one is large surface area, that one is like the arrangement of the leaves for capturing light. I think that one's transparent cuticle, you know, like an eye, it's transparent. And then there you got loads of palisade cells with loads of chlorophyll for capturing light. And personally, as someone with such a visual memory, I think that's really helpful for me. Sometimes I am sat in an exam and I'm like trying to recall the images for that thing. I mean, you can see, so adaptations for taking in CO2, adaptations for the light independent reaction of photosynthesis. I mean, you can just get creative with it. But yeah, as I say, just make it active. So that is me actively recalling things from my mind by using photos as prompts. And then you can eventually not use those pictures because it'll be in your head anyway. Oh, and also when you're summarizing stuff, feel free to remove unnecessary words like the, and. I mean, you can just use the little and symbol. You really just are trying to cut down as many words as possible and make it just the key information on that page. And then your brain is less likely to switch off and actually absorb what you need to. So yeah, I really hope that this did help you in some way. I'm no expert, I'm no professional, I'm just a little gal doing her A-levels, trying my best. And to be honest, there is no right way to do flashcards, and I don't think they work for everyone, to be honest. People have different methods of revision, and that's absolutely okay. Depends on the subject, depends on the person. But yeah, if this did help you, please do let me know. Let me know any questions you might have or further video requests, because at the end of the day, this video was requested. I hope all your revision is going well, and thank you so much for being here. Feel free to subscribe and click the little notification bell if you want to be actually notified when I post a video, because YouTube can mess up sometimes. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a lovely week. Bye.